Hi, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about why I love the 4th of July. Okay, so it's the 4th of July. Today is the day, of course, that we celebrate because today is the anniversary of the day where Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum sent those aliens back into space with a computer virus. It was so awesome, right? Sorry, I know that's a really corny joke. I've been waiting all week to say that, right? That's a dad joke, right? Where you talk about that kind of stuff. Of course, today's just it's an American holiday, right? So I'm in England. So, in America, there's barbecues and fireworks and celebrations and, and all kinds of stuff. And here, it's Tuesday, right? The kids are in school. It's just like a normal day, right? But I'm not going to forget. Every 4th of July and every Thanksgiving, I think I'm going to do something special. And rarely do I, right? But I love the 4th of July. I love it. Of course, the 4th of July being the celebration of the Declaration of Independence, where back in 1776, the Second Continental Congress of the colonies declared their independence from Great Britain, and then the Revolutionary War ensued. And then, it wasn't happily ever after. There's still slaves. There's still, lots of progress to be made. Even now, well, we won't talk about now. But, but what as a lot of you guys know, I didn't study computer science. When I went to university after the Army, I went and I learned. I studied journalism at first, and then it was history, right? And so my goal in life was to be a history teacher at one point. God, I am so glad I didn't do that, right? I would be teaching the same thing year after year after year, right? And we always have this spiel that the reason we learn history, the reason why it's important is so we're not doomed to repeat it, right? Which has always seemed like a really weak excuse to learn it, right? But, it was mainly because I was fascinated by history. I love studying history. And when I came out to England, there was a guy who came to, he said, Eric, I got this book you'd really like because you're really into history. He says, it's all about this area back in the 1800s, right? All about how the agricultural environment it was, and it was all fields all around and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, that sounds so boring, right? That's not what excited me about history was people, normal people. There were no superhumans in our human history. There's always, mere mortals, normal people who made big decisions, people who said either, this is enough, we're not going to take it anymore, and they fought back, or people who said, we need more for us and we need to do more, or, a lot of times, more aggressive tactics like, take more land and all this kind of stuff. But, we're filled with a human history of normal people doing extraordinary things. And sometimes, somebody who's been told their entire life, they might be a king or royalty, or, think they're someone special growing up. But a lot of times it's just the normal, everyday people who get together. I love the 4th of July because we celebrate the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We don't celebrate the beginning of America. We don't celebrate the end of the Revolutionary War. We celebrate the time where the decision was made and the Declaration was signed. The time where this group of people pretty much signed their death warrants, or became traitors and put their names down on paper and said, we declare our independence. And of course, that wasn't the end of the story. We still had, slavery, we had civil wars, we had all this kind of stuff, and it's still going to keep going on. It's not just American history. I loved, Cuban history was something that I found really fascinating. The Cuban Revolution, if you haven't read about it, I mean, despite what you think of Castro, somebody going into power and staying there his entire life, and all that kind of stuff. But the revolution itself was fascinating. It was a small guerrilla group which got on a boat and just basically took over this big army of the Cuban and during the Cuban Revolution. I mean, it was really fascinating. Despite all the odds against them. And then of course it's Castro. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that. Today is Independence Day. Today is the 4th of July. Today is Tuesday. But what I want you to think about today is all the times in your life that you're proud of. Are they times where something was given to you? Is it something that, because in history, we rarely celebrate the times when something was given to somebody. We celebrate the times where somebody made a decision, somebody did something extraordinary, somebody, surmounted all the odds to do something different. And you and I, I know this sounds really inconsequential in comparison to a revolutionary war, but you and I, we look at our lives and we see, I want more than I have. I want to build more than I have. Everyone around you is telling you maybe now's not the best time, maybe you should hold off, maybe you want too much, right? But it's, you're going to be proud in the future. You're going to look back at this and be, you're proud of the fact that you had all these overwhelming odds that you had to overcome. It wasn't easy, there was no certainty, but you still did it. Anyway, sorry to ramble on. I know it's really corny today, is it? Right? Anyway, that's it for today. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.